Now, Bronny James has had a name since day one. Right out of the womb, when he was born, his father was LeBron, and all eyes were on him to see what he was going to do in the basketball world. Now, of course, when you have a name, people can try to take advantage of you anyway and try to get over on you. Even though you might have money and might have fame and notoriety and popularity, people at times can use that against you. And it's really bad because you don't know who's your friend and who's not your friend at the end of the day. Now, what if I told you Dior Johnson and Mikey Williams finessed Bronny like crazy for all his clout and popularity, and now they're using it to their advantage? All right, well, let's get into it. Now, as many of you guys should already know by now, and I'll first start off with Mikey Williams. Mikey Williams actually did play with Bronny James back in the day. Now, what had happened was Bronny James actually invited Mikey to come and play on the team. Now, the team they were actually playing for was the Blue Chips, and it started in 8th grade. Now, this was the start and really the birth of Mikey Williams' career. Now, after playing with Bronny James on that team, he really started getting noticed and started getting popularity across social media and the basketball world in general. They made a post about him saying that he had impressed LeBron James, and you know, once you impress LeBron James from there, you're gonna have a whole lot of eyes watching you to see how you perform in these games. And the truth was, Mikey Williams was outperforming Bronny James and pretty much the whole team. He was developing a lot earlier than a lot of these players. He was dunking at a pretty young age, and people were looking at him and saying, wow, he's such a great player, being only 14 years old. Man, how did he get this good, and why is he not ranked? Man, soon after that, he really started gaining traction, and of course, as you guys know now, he's ranked 5th in the country and is one of the most popular and hyped up players out here. And you know, if you say that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's really up to you and your decision. Now, personally, I think this is a way that Mikey Williams finessed Bronny, because once you get on that team and get those eyes and people looking at you, man, your career, if you play well enough, is probably going to take off. People really liked Mikey Williams' game, how he was agile, could shoot the ball, could get to the hoop, and being only 14 years old and he was dunking the ball as well, man, there weren't too many people that really had all of those skills in their bag, and that's what separated Mikey Williams and made him really rock it off. Now, at the end of the day, Bronny James is a kid and he's just trying to have fun on his AAU team, but this is a business too, and it's about competition as well. And if you really want to be the best player in the country or one of the best players in your class, man, you got to lock in and make sure that each game you're giving your all. And in this case, when he invited Mikey Williams onto the team, he was overshadowing Bronny, which is a sad case, but that's not to say that Bronny isn't a great player or doesn't have lots of experience and doesn't. Of course, they're only 14 years old. We're talking about, at the end of the day, the long run is really what matters. But low-key, Bronny might have got finessed for that situation for sure. Now, I'm definitely not going to say this is a bad move from Mikey Williams, as of course anyone who's that age and wants to play basketball for the rest of their life and loves the game, you want to go where the best competition is and where you can get the most hype and the most eyes looking at you. And really playing with Bronny James was a great move for Mikey, because look at it, it really rocketed his career. How many times has Mikey Williams been on Overtime, where they're shooting videos of him slam, all these other YouTube channels, and they're really making documentaries on his whole life. And that's not saying he's a great player, because at the end of the day, he is a good player and one of the best in the country. But I think he really started his career from Bronny, and not a lot of people recognize that and really understand where he came from. Now, personally, if I was Bronny, I wouldn't focus on mixing friends and basketball and really try to leave those things separately, because at the end of the day, you're on your own for this. Everyone, of course, Bronny James does have that popularity and hype to him, but he's trying to get to the league and trying to get as far as he can, just like anyone else. And everyone knows, man, getting to the next level is not guaranteed. You got to prove yourself at every single position. Now, of course, Bronny James already did get a college offer, as many of you guys should know, but at the end of the day, it's really interesting that Bronny James doesn't seem like he separates basketball and having friends, and just likes to play with his friends on the court, even if that means sacrificing his own playing time and shine on the team. Now, another player who actually got his name off of Bronny James was Dior Johnson. Now, if you guys haven't seen my most recent video on Dior Johnson, go check that out. I just posted it. It's really about where he's committing and going to school, so let me know about that if you like that video. But in this case, as many of you guys might know, Dior Johnson actually played with Bronny James, and it's a very similar circumstance. Now here, Bronny James had actually invited Dior to come play with him, but Dior had moved around to a whole lot of teams. Now I can't mention all of the schools in this video, but it's definitely a lot. I believe it was IMG, Oak Hill, and a bunch of EYBL teams. And then he ended up playing for Bronny's team because Bronny actually invited him to play. Now on that team, that is where Dior skyrocketed and really got a name for himself. Now, when you're playing on that team, as I said before, if you impress LeBron, if you impress anyone when you're on the court and even outshine Bronny, you're going to get a name for yourself. And that's exactly what Dior did. Dior went out there, man, was doing 360 layups, jellies, and Bron was loving it. Bron was eating it up on the side of the court. And man, that's when things started blowing up for him. Now, of course, he was already a great player and was playing on a couple different EYBL teams, as you guys should already know. But man, when he was doing that, I think he finessed Bronny, because at the end of the day, everyone knows if you get on that team with Bronny and play well enough, and if you play better than him, you're going to get a name for yourself, regardless of what happens, regardless of the situation after, if Bronny still is friends with you or not. Man, you're going to blow up, and that's what Dior did. You have to go to the team. Now, any of these players need to go to the team that gets them the most looks, the most eyes, the most popularity, as I said before. And that was the case for Dior. He knows that if he goes and plays with Bronny, or goes and plays on a certain EYBL team or a certain high school team like Oak Hill or IMG, man, the chances of you going maybe G League or going to play professionally or going right to the NBA are so much higher than staying at a place where you're not really valued, or maybe you're not getting as much attention as you want. Now, that's really the name of the game nowadays, and even people are complaining, saying, oh, certain players are older than others, maybe because they reclassed. And at the end of the day, what I keep saying in the comments is it doesn't matter, because once you get to that college level, man, you're playing against grown men. What are you going to do then? You get to the college or NBA, any type of professional, man, your age is not going to save you. That's why age really doesn't matter, because there are plenty of younger players who are killing out here and don't care about age. But then it's really the people who are not as good that say, oh, age really matters so much. Now, of course, man, there's limits to this. I'm not saying you can be 40 years old and still playing high school basketball, but a few years, although someone may develop a little bit more than the other, at this point, you just got to play basketball. You can't even worry about that. But it really does seem like Dior did finesse Bronny James to get on that team. And once he did, man, the rest is history. He's one of the best players in the class of 2022. He's ranked, has offers, decommitted from Syracuse, and now we're just waiting to see where he's going to end up and what school he's going to go to. Now, it does seem like both Dior Johnson and Mikey Williams did finesse Bronny James to get ranked and get some popularity and eyes on them. But I want you guys to let me know, do you think that it was the right move for Mikey Williams and Dior to come play with Bronny? Or do you think that was a bad move and they were just doing it to try to get clout off Bronny's name? Let me know. Now, make sure you leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications to get a notification every time I upload a new video. So LNH, I'm out.